would assume, I haven't asked, but if asked to shop one, I would assume that they will say that they don't have that much business.
Right. I'm just going to show, I know that you can't see this, Dr. Morandi, but I am going to show so people see the scene. You tweeted this on February 28th, people on the streets commemorating the martyrdom of Ayatollah Khamenei. So I'm going to share this right now.
And it's quite shocking to see a whole society singing and dancing the murder of Ayatollah Khamenei. This is really disturbing. And it's of course coming after 2.5 years of genocide, which is terribly disturbing. And the fact that Israeli Jews are united in this hatred is for someone like me who grew up there. I wasn't born there. I was born in a refugee camp after the Second World War, but I was an Israeli. I'm not anymore. I'm an anti-Zionist, ex-Israeli. It's still shocking to see Jews doing something so un-Jewish. The actions, the reactions, the happiness about the brutality that they are affecting, it's highly disturbing. Of course, it's also disturbing to live in the belly of the beast in London, where Islamophobia, racism combine to create an atmosphere of hysteria, I can only call it. For many weeks, myself and a small group of Iranian and other friends have tried to move the main anti-war organization, Stop the War Coalition, to call for a demonstration, a public large demonstration against the coming war. We've tried this for a month or so. They refused to meet us. They refused to discuss this with us. And the only reaction was, when the war will start, we'll call for a demonstration. This is an organization that in 2003, and I was involved, called for a mass demonstration against.
Anthropic's contract with the Pentagon includes usage policy restrictions, contractual guardrails that prohibit applications such as autonomous weapons and mass surveillance. The Pentagon originally agreed to these terms. And now they don't. Why won't you? So if you're not going to use them for mass surveillance or to do it for autonomous weapons, why would you not accept that language? So this is a story that's not getting anywhere near enough attention, is that the Anthropic CEO cannot in good conscience accede to Pentagon's AI demands. So the Pentagon wants this CEO of Anthropic to let the Pentagon use their AI program to identify people. Anthropic, so they want to have, there are safeguards for this AI that says, hey, you can't use it to do mass surveillance on American citizens. And the Pentagon is threatening this CEO and their company to lose a $200 million contract if they don't take the safeguards off and allow the Pentagon to do use their AI to do mass surveillance on American citizens. Now, why is this a bad idea? So by the way, Anthropic cannot in good conscience accede to Pentagon's AI demand. If there's one thing you cannot have anywhere near the Pentagon, it's a good conscience. So why is this a bad idea? Well, let me show you why this is a bad idea, because there's a story ripped from today's headlines. Facial recognition error prompts police to arrest an Asian man for burglary 100 miles away. When questioned, the AI stated that, what do you want me to do? You all look alike. That's what the AI said. Police arrested a man for burglary in a city he had never visited after face scanning software deployed across the UK confused him with another person of South Asian heritage. Albany showed me.
All right, so you got the point. You got the point. You get the point. You get the point. You get the point. Don't know what to believe. It looks like Tel Aviv just got hit again. I don't know. I don't know. You know, these must be real pictures, but they could be from the last time. That I don't know. And they just loop the same ones. So we don't. My opinion is we don't really know what's happening. Full on. And oh, I'm trying to find. Okay, so I want to ask the Magic 8 Ball the question is, I don't know how to phrase the question. Is the next 2 weeks going to be significant to the good for Railtown stock price because of the GTC conference? So here's the Magic 8 Ball. The answer I got with the question, I forget the question I asked, was don't count on it. But I want to see if it'll answer that question. Of course, it's all corny. Let's see here. It spins around. Uh-oh. Oh, that's easy. Yes. The answer is yes. All right. You heard the question. You heard the answer from the Magic 8 Ball. Oh, all right. I bet it's such beautiful weather. I don't think we'll have a big audience today, but I want to just spend whatever time, maybe only an hour, but it might go longer. I don't know. Talking over a few things, and because I may not be able to go live in the afternoon tomorrow. I don't know. I might. But I'm trying to, for this gold project, I'm trying to get the money wired. And I have to go to the bank. And I think it'll be in the afternoon because I'm waiting for some wires to show up. So, and I've spoken or communicated with several of you. I'm hoping we get to a minimum number that makes that send worthwhile. So tomorrow would be a good day to wire funds. But, I'm not trying to pressure anybody. But that's why I'm going on now, is just to give me some leeway that if I can't make it during the market hours tomorrow, at least we talked a little bit. Okay. What do I want? Oh, I just want to see if there's anything going on. Trump says Iran's new leaders want to talk. They were talking. Trump faces Republican fury as U.S. troops are killed in Iran war. Ambassador response sparks disgust. Well, that's from the Daily Hate. I don't know if that reflects what Republicans think. Iran has attacked a United States aircraft carrier. That's what I warned you about. If they prove that our aircraft carriers are vulnerable, goodbye to the dollar. And that's not new. Everybody's saying it now. I've been saying that for a few years. They claim to have attacked a U.S. aircraft carrier in revenge. The Abraham Lincoln, wow. 4 ballistic missiles. The Pentagon denies it. Did not even come close. So that's the thing. We're not going to know what's actually happening. But the Daily Hate is very liberal. Here's the Situation Room. This woman here, Susie Wiles, she used to be Netanyahu's aide-de-camp. She's the right-hand man for Netanyahu. And now she's the right-hand man for Trump. And this guy here, he's a neocon. So Trump has decided, he's decided to believe the liar, Netanyahu. And I can't imagine that any of the words that come out of the mouth of Trump or Netanyahu addressed toward Khomeini, he's now dead. If those words from the other side's perspective were addressed about Netanyahu, they'd be accurate. This is a country and a man who have slaughtered civilians for decades, but recently they've wiped out Gaza Strip, they've attacked Lebanon, attacked Syria, gone in, I don't know if they've gone into Jordan, but they've obviously the West Bank. And, you know, it's all in the name of God. Allahu Akbar. When that's said, the other side gets attacked by us. Anyway, Trump was in the middle of negotiations with Iran and attacked anyway. Guys, I really think this is going to be dangerous for you, for the United States. We've made a martyr in a world where it's a big deal. Iran is not Iraq. And we don't even have the weapon. Well, I don't know. Maybe Trump knows something about weapons we have that can just be a game changer. But I don't know what advice to give you about how to prepare, but this isn't going to end quickly. And if Russia decides to join, or if one of our ships goes down, this, simple thing could start World War III, and our time on this planet could be very short. This is sheer idiocy. And to listen to a lying, dishonest, if that's not duplicative, manipulator like Netanyahu, I don't know. We'll find out. Trump has always been amazing that a lot of his insights turn out to be correct. But I think realistically, Trump just lost the House and he'll probably lose the Senate. And, you know, I don't think it matters who's in the White House. The strongest lobby in the country, probably in the world, is the Israeli lobby. And, you know, Paramount just got bought out by a billionaire Zionist. Our media, everything is run by Zionists. The Christian Zionist Huckabee just backed up Greater Israel. So this has been a 40, 50, 60-year goal that, you know, you're going to see the test of the theory out in the open. Maybe Trump will be able to call it off quickly. And if so, perhaps he can salvage the midterms. My view always was that Trump was trying to assuage the Miriam Adelsons of the world. But when you see Susie Wiles there and Kushner is out negotiating, and the other guy, not Ludnick, the other guy, Witkoff, they're all Zionists. So your government has made a decision that it's more important to go to war for a disgruntled group of, you know, large part Brooklynites who live in the Middle East. It's incredible. But anyway, I know other people have different views. I'm starting to show some of my slant on it. But what does it mean? Tomorrow, if a ship, there's rumors that an oil tanker's been hit, and the Houthis are joining back in, and the Strait of Hormuz could be shut. And there's talk that Saudi Arabia is going to join in the attack. Remember, they are Sunni for the most part, almost entirely, and Iran is Shia. But then it all breaks down. It's like the Christian faith; they have different things to argue about. But I do, you know, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the religion at all. I happen to be well, I don't want to get this into religion, but, you know, I'm not trying to be disrespectful by saying they're arguing with each other. We do it in the Christian faith too. But what it means to you is, and I was a kid, but it could be that gasoline prices, well, let me give you a statistic on gasoline that I remember from my conversations with Matthew Simmons, who is somebody that I think very highly of. He died somehow. I really tend to think it may have been intentional. But he spoke out against the British petroleum spill in the Gulf of Mexico. And if he's right, and I actually found him highly credible, that well is still spewing oil into the Gulf of Mexico. And British Petroleum lied to us. But let's not get off onto that subject, but it's frightening. It's frightening. They never capped that well, if Matthew Simmons is correct. And they just tried to save a little money, so the blowout was predictable. But the city, London, the British Empire, they don't care about us. And so we have misplaced loyalty, and we get all worked up with our emotions to be loyal. But you really got to think, Israel's not on our side. Israel's never done anything for us. It's always take, 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 take. And then they're never happy. That's because their goal is expansionist. But anyway, if there is a embargo almost of oil, and maybe that's why Trump went down to Venezuela, because our refineries are set up for Venezuelan oil. It could have been that he's playing 3D, 4D chess. But you could see oil prices spike to all-time highs. To my memory, the all-time highs around $155, $160 a barrel. I should have looked that up. But I think you could see it spike to $200, $250. And what you can do in your own lifetime, your own week, your own day, today, is don't drive around with half a tank of gasoline. Don't drive around with a quarter tank of gasoline. Go fill up your tanks. Matthew Simmons told me, if I remember the data correctly, and it was always in his presentation, not always, but he also put it out in presentations, that our gasoline system, which is pipeline and it's trucks and it's storage tanks underneath gas stations, that if everyone went at the same time to fill up their tanks, we drain the system. Within 2 weeks, we drain the system. And it would take months, if to get back into equilibrium. Hopefully, Trump can pull a rabbit out of the hat, and this is a short event. But I don't know. So the number one thing I would do today and tomorrow, I'd do it today. Go fill up all your automobiles and start riding with a full tank of gas. It gives you a small amount, a modicum of flexibility. Don't ride around with a quarter of a tank. Go fill it up, keep it full. Keep all automobiles, trucks in your driveways full of gasoline. The other thing I would do is tomorrow, go to your bank and, or go to the ATM first, but take out $1,000 or more. Go inside and ask for $5 bills or $10 bills. I wouldn't necessarily go higher, but you can. But if there's panic, nobody's going to make change. So go get some cash, because if a bank goes down or if there's a financial crisis from this, ATMs are going to shut down. That almost happened in 2008. And the Democrats are not going to cooperate with Trump. And Marjorie Greene and her ilk are not going to cooperate with Trump. So 2 little bits of homework. Go fill your gasoline tanks keep them full as long as this is going on, and go get some cash, put it in a baggie, maybe put it in your freezer, or put it in a pillow, or put it inside of, a David Baldacci book that you never read, cut out the middle of it. It's a horrible author. Put it inside there. Go get Hillary's latest book. You don't want to read it. Cut out the middle and put some cash in there and put it on your bookshelf. But get some cash. And then, of course, you may want whatever your food and medicine and water needs are. Those are things to focus on. But this isn't going to be, I mean, it could be. Who knows? It could be with Trump's skill and his knowledge of what's going on. It could be a 1 week thing, 2 week thing. But the odds are here, this is going to go on a long, long, long time. And anger is going to go up and up and up and up. And anger is going to be directed at two countries, Israel and the United States. Donald Trump has decided to align us with the modern day Germany. Israel is taking on the world, and we're going to back her up. And so that's where we are. I would imagine flights are going to be unsafe and other things. So just start thinking in terms of this might be, I hope it doesn't get to World War III, but I don't even think the Zionists and the Hillary leftovers at State and the Pentagon even talk to Putin. So this can escalate very quickly, very quickly. Now, I spent a lot of time in Dubai in my life, and I guess that's my past. And I spent a lot of time there when it was not such a mecca, so to speak, such a destination. But I stayed in those hotels. Those are the only hotels. Well, there's one other one, but those are the only hotels we'd stay at in the short stays. Longer stays, stayed at a good hotel, but right nearby. But Tehran is hitting Jumeirah Beach. I can't say that. Jumeirah Beach Hotel or the Palm. It's unclear when I looked at the pictures which one it was. They're hitting the Fairmont, apparently. And they even attacked the Burj Khalifa, the Burj Dubai, the Burj Khalifa. Dubai's finished as a destination. People won't feel safe. I would imagine Tel Aviv is finished as a business destination. But we'll see. We'll see. All the Brooklynites will come back to New York. I guess those citizens there that are from Russia will probably have to stay, or if they're from Ethiopia, which I don't know how many, if you remember that Entebbe raid. But this is going to change our lives. Anyway, I didn't want to, I was telling myself not to get worked up about it. So we just, now we just have to witness it. It doesn't matter what I think, or even with respect, what you think. We're just a witness of it now. And this could become World War III. It's certainly I think is viewed as existential on the part of Iran. I don't see any evidence that the citizens of Iran are rising up to support this action. They're doing it here in the States, of course. That's the diaspora. But last time Tehran negotiated and they stopped lobbing bombs at Israel. They did it, I think, in good faith. And what they get back? Israel ramps up to launch an unprovoked attack during negotiations. And you can debate whether Israel controls Trump or Trump controls Israel. I would suggest if it's close enough to even ask the question, you know the answer. And I don't think it has anything to do with the Epstein files. And Democrats say that. I think that's not it. It's just this idiocy of both being a religious supremacist country and a victim. It can't be both. But we always fall for helping the victim. And I tell you, if you spend some time thinking about it, every accusation thrown at the whatever, he's dead now, the supreme leader, you can throw him right back at Benjamin. So I don't know. It doesn't look like anyone's good in the situation. So we just have to leave it in God's hands and hope there's a swift end to this, that peace comes and sanity returns. But anyway, let's move on. So those are the two things I can think of you need to do. If you have free cash, buy some silver, buy some gold, buy your favorite oil company. But two practical things you can do. Drive around with a full gas tank and get some $5, $10, maybe $20 bills, $1 bills into your house. And I don't know. I would guess you need enough to survive at least a month, but maybe longer. You don't want to lose it. But if the ATMs go down and the cards go down, that's the only thing separating you from very difficult times. So Iran's ex-president, who said Israel must be wiped off the map, has been killed. I don't know his name. Trump reveals U.S. destroyed 9 Iranian naval ships, and he's going to go after the rest of them. Israelis and Iranians celebrate together in the streets of London. It's terrible, of course. 3 U.S. service members are killed, and 5 are seriously wounded. Operation Epic Fury. Where do they come up with these silly names? Epic Fury. Michael Goodwin says, and that's, you know, everybody has their opinion. We live in a country, we can have our opinion. The death of Ayatollah Khomeini instantly makes the world a better place. And the editorial at the New York Post, Trump's bold move to rid the world of Iran's evil regime once and for all. Let's move on. It's not anything we can control. All right, let me go on with other things I wanted to talk to you about. The Pope came out against it. I don't know. I worry about Dubai. It's a great city. So President Trump issues a new warning. Iran will be hit with a force like they've never seen before and hit very hard. I wonder if that's a new weapon. Maybe that's sonic weapon. Iran just stated they are going to hit very hard today, harder than they have ever hit before. They better not do that, however, because if they do, we will hit them with a force that has never been seen before. I wonder if it's sound. Or it's that harp, the energy that some people think took down the World Trade Center. Anyway, let's move on to Railtown. We can get lost in that subject. That's weird. I don't know where to start. I'll start with this, but I might have already shown you that one. I don't know. So if I put it up and pull it down, it's because I showed it to you the other day. Yeah, that one, you don't care. I was putting up TELUS News, and that doesn't have any impact on us. This is TELUS digital research reveals a hidden risk in AI model behavior. Up here. And then down here, TELUS Digital published a study. I should have looked that study up. I'll remember to do that for the next time. The robustness paradox, showing that persona prompting can shift large language model moral judgments and produce inconsistent responses. The study evaluated 16 model families and found moral robustness is driven by model family, while moral susceptibility rises with model size within a family. Findings highlight enterprise risks for most impact uses and recommends careful model selection and ongoing testing and guardrails and continuous red teaming with tools like Fuel IX Fortify. And I think I showed this to you before, but this also, I think, makes a case for Railtown's tools. I want to show you one more thing. This is the chart of Railtown, and I tried to show you what I see in it. Other people see different things, of course. But this purple line right here on the diagonal, it goes diagonally here. That seems to be where it's trading. You know, it rallies and comes back to that line. So you're essentially seeing higher lows. I mean, obviously that's not totally true here. It was sideways, but for the most part, you're seeing higher lows, which is what you want to see when a stock starts to go upward. The blue lines, which are right here and here, I tried to show you the top of the resistance here, which becomes support. But you could also argue that resistance was up here on the top line, depending on where you wanted to draw it. Why? Because in the middle of the page there, that's the base of that rally up. But anyway, however you want to say it, those two blue lines define what was support. If you see here in June, it busted through and then they brought it down, and that was essentially support. And the stock didn't see those prices until December again. Well, as they brought it down for whatever reason, we don't have to get into that, I guess. The support became resistance, and as the stock tried to go back up, they successfully sold it down. And I guess I would count that as 1, 2, 3, and on the fourth attempt, it broke out. I mean, you might count it differently, but so these two blue lines basically became resistance. It busted out of it, hit the 200-day moving average, and now they bring it down predictably. And the blue lines, and I would argue the lower line is the level, because it's the top of this noise over here, this cluster here. It's not the very tip top though. But anyway, the blue line broadly, the two blue lines now are support. And that lines up with that horizontal purple line, and it lines up with the trading we saw yesterday, the last 2 days. So I think they've done, my read on this, they've tested it. So now the stock can go up. Now it doesn't have to go straight up. The two things, there are three things I notice here. One is the 200-day moving average. That'll probably, it might go higher than that, but that'll be a place to bounce around. Also, this trend line, I did two yellow diagonals, and you could argue with my choice, but I took in the middle here, the bottom one here, I just used the lowest points that stood out, and then the parallel when you go up is right here. Now, you could pick different ones. That's what I see. So that line crosses here, and oddly, the rally yesterday stopped at the top of that trend line. I'm either a revisionist or I'm seeing something. Who knows? But that could cause the stock to be down and sideways, churning a bit, building a pennant formation maybe as it goes back down to this purple line, back to the yellow, back down. And there's no magic about my lines. It could go all the way down to the blue lines again. But anyway, it doesn't have to go straight up. And even if it does go up, it might flutter around the 200-day moving average. And that's where I drew this rather fat yellow line, because all of that yellow, that thick yellow, mainly because of the trading in October and November, is resistance now. The yellow is at the top of this trading here, which briefly was resistance, but there's a lot of noise there. But the yellow pretty much picks up all the discouragement. A lot of people I don't know, I hope not, but a lot of people could be discouraged that they didn't get out in October or November, or they bought then. And there may be a tendency that they get shaken out in that area. Hopefully not. But the computers will see that. And I think the selling will come in. So somewhere between 42 and 45 range. There could be some stalling going on. I drew these little purple circles. This money flow indicator is looking good, or this is the money flow. I don't think this is money flow. I'm not sure. This is the MACD. So anyway, it's turning positive here. And this, if you'll notice, it basically tracks the chart, but it's a little bit predictive. And when it's crossing above this line, that's a positive. Anyway, that's what I see on the chart. We've seen the lows. We made it through the storm, and I congratulate everybody that bought here. Brandon's friends sold at the exact bottom, and I'm sure he never got back in. He put a stop limit order in at 25 cents for 50,000 shares. And that's what they try to get you to do. And 25 is a round number. They know that people put things in at round numbers. They work it down there, and they say, thank you very much. And he's not back in. It's a shame. It's a real shame. All right, so that's that. I don't know if I read this to you before, but we might as well go over it again. Thales Digital, I think this is what Ward sent me, by the way. Thales Digital operates as a global systems integrator and strategic consultant, which means they partner with top tier technology companies to build and manage solutions for their clients. So here's how their partnerships work. For example, Salesforce. TELUS Digital is a premier Salesforce implementation partner. In 2025, I guess they is Salesforce, but it could be TELUS. I don't know who the they is. Significantly expanded this by acquiring Gerent, a major Salesforce consultancy, to help businesses implement agentic AI agents that can complete tasks autonomously within the Salesforce ecosystem. Zendesk. Zendesk is believe it or not, a solution provider and implementation partner. They integrate their own AI platform, Fuel iX, directly. So they is TELUS. TELUS integrates its own AI platform, Fuel iX, directly into Zendesk to help customer service teams be more efficient, spend less time. Palo Alto Networks, this is a core security partnership. You know, all three of these partnerships describe what Railtown does, but I think on a different layer of the stack. Anyway, Palo Alto Networks, this is a core security partnership. TELUS Digital uses Palo Alto's Prisma and Cortex platforms to secure their own global infrastructure and manage security. UiPath. TELUS Digital uses UiPath for robotic process automation to automate repetitive back office tasks. This isn't the real time like Rail Engine. So why do they partner instead of building? Instead of trying to replace a massive tool like Salesforce, and I'm not saying Railtown is viewed as massive yet, but the concept is the same. Instead of trying to replace a massive tool like Salesforce, TELUS Digital adds a layer on top of it. For example, Salesforce provides the database and the CRM, the customer resource management. I forget what CRM is. Let's look it up. There's so many of these. Customer relations management. Should have known. Should have known. I did know. It's just didn't remember. So here, Salesforce provides the customer relations management. TELUS Digital provides the experts to set it up. Fuel iX, TELUS's own product, and maybe TELUS will make Railtown their own product. I think it'll be expensive. Provides the specialized AI that makes the Salesforce data more useful for employees. Other notable partners TELUS implements for clients include ServiceNow, AWS, Google Cloud, and SAP. TELUS Digital provides comprehensive digital transformation, AI data solutions, and customer experience services, CX, to global brands. They blend AI-powered technology with human expertise to build digital products, optimize IT life cycles, and enhance customer interactions through digital strategy, design, and automation. Key services and functions include AI data solutions, digital CX and transformation, intelligent automation and IT, customer experience, trust and safety. I'm not going to read all the words in there. TELUS Digital serves industries, as we know, all those industries, but they focus on user experience and scaling. These are two things I think Railtown will be extremely important in providing for the TELUS data center. So TELUS provides proprietary software solution platforms and integrates third-party enterprise tools to deliver AI and customer experience solutions. Their software strategy focuses on Fuel iX, a central engine for managing generative AI across businesses. So Fuel iX is an enterprise-grade AI engine, Gen AI engine, used to manage, monitor, and scale AI applications. It includes Fuel iX Core, a control plane for integrating multiple large language models like OpenAI, Google, and Meta into one system. It has Fuel iX copilots. You don't need to know how to code. For employees to create custom AI assistants for copywriting or coding. Fuel iX Agent Trainer, an AI-powered simulator that trains customer service agents. Fuel iX Fortify, it's for security. Ground Truth Studio, this is a proprietary data annotation platform which combines AI-assisted labeling with human expertise to train machine learning models across text, image, and video. This Railtown is in this massively. Sovereign AI, I'm not saying they're in the studio, they're in that space. Sovereign AI, it's all about Canada. Oh, I don't know what that is. I guess it's safe to show. I guess it is. I can't, they're so small, I can't read them. The Daily Hate just put out Trump's deadly fury. The United States kills 48 Iranian leaders and sinks 9 ships as Tehran attacks aircraft carrier and kills U.S. troops. We've just been hit by a drone. Shocking aftermath of an Iran strike on a tourist hotspot. That's got to be a nightmare to be on a vacation. All right, let's keep going. This might not be, I think this is still relevant. So the partner integration, TELUS Digital often implements and manages software from major technology partners to build custom client solutions. The customer experience, they integrate Salesforce, Zendesk, and Adobe Experience Cloud for marketing and customer relations management. See, that's what CRM is. Automation, they use UiPath and Automation Anywhere for robotic process automation. And then they used cloud and infrastructure, AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, and Palo Alto Networks. And then this may not be, no, the the board invitation I got was spam. He wrote back and said, don't pay attention to it. So here, airstrike horror as 85 schoolgirls are killed in Iran. At least 85 people have been killed in an elementary school. What is it? They're the schoolgirls between 7 and 12. Just put yourself on the other side of the Gulf. How would you respond to that if your children were attacked by Iran, for example? It's horrifying. Sources said it might be propaganda. A teacher said she saw the bodies. I felt like I had gone mute. I couldn't speak. There were 170 girls at the school at the time of the attack. These are children, but I guess they're going to be mothers of terrorists. Here's the layout in the Gulf, and the three oranges are submarines. The red circles are combat ships. The squares are support ships. The upside down triangles are destroyers. The pyramids are aircraft carriers. And then all the black squares are U.S. bases. And you might recognize the yellow. That's what God gave to Benjamin Netanyahu, the land between the Nile and the Euphrates. And if you think Israel is going to be happy until they get all of that, and they won't be happy then. They'll want Kuwait. They'll want it all. But that's their goal. And you want to join in for that, well, you already have. We already have joined in for that campaign. And it's going to be a very hollow, empty feeling the next few years of war. All right, let's get back to what's going on with AI. This is the conference. NVIDIA GTC 2026 is going to spotlight a mystery chip, silicon photonics, and power limits. This is written by Monica Shen. And Levi Lee, two people. Anyway, it was written last week. This conference is March. It starts that Monday of St. Patrick's Week. March 16th through the 19th. And I think this is going to be an important line for TELUS. I don't know about Railtown. I don't know if Railtown's even there. It's not in the presenters. So NVIDIA is going to unveil new inference chip at next month's GTC conference, incorporating Grok LPU design. NVIDIA plans to unveil a new inference chip incorporating Grok's language processing unit technology at next month's GTC developer conference, signifying the company's accelerated transition into the inference computing domain to address the urgent demand for high performance, cost-effective computing solutions. According to the Wall Street Journal, this entirely new system, which NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang described as unprecedented in the world, is specifically, we'll get there. Let me see what it says here. This new chip specifically targets latency and memory bandwidth bottlenecks in large model inference or optimization. This is all an evolving field, but this is right up Railtown's bailiwick. The next generation Feynman architecture design, significantly reducing energy consumption and costs with AI agent operations. This is all the focus. And no one company, I think, has the solution. Seems like I'm missing one. Well, it's all right. As the AI sector transitions from model training to practical application deployment, this is where Rail Engine comes in, application deployment. Inference computing has become the central focus of what? AI inference primarily involves two stages. Pre-fill, you get your defill. First you get your pre-fill and then you go for your defill. Pre-fill and decode, with the decoding process being particularly slow for large AI models. To address this technical bottleneck, NVIDIA has chosen to push beyond physical limits through external technological integration. According to the Wall Street Journal, NVIDIA spent $20 billion at the end of last year to acquire critical technology licenses from the startup Grok and absorbed an executive team, sounds like an acqui-hire, including founder Jonathan Ross, through a large-scale core hiring deal. Grok's language processing unit adopts an architecture fundamentally different from traditional GPUs, demonstrating exceptionally high efficiency in handling inference tasks. Industry analysts believe that the upcoming product may involve the disruptive next generation Feynman architecture. According to a previous article by Wall Street News, the Feynman architecture could employ broader SRAM integration schemes and even deeply incorporate LPU via 3D stacking technology, specifically optimizing for latency and memory bandwidth, the two major bottlenecks in inference, to significantly reduce energy consumption and costs for running AI agents. While introducing the LPU architecture, NVIDIA is also flexibly adjusting its traditional processor usage patterns. NVIDIA's conventional approach involved bundling Vera CPUs with its powerful Rubin GPUs in data center servers. However, this configuration is proven too costly and insufficiently energy efficient when handling certain specific AI agent workloads. Some large enterprise clients have found that a pure CPU environment is more efficient when running specific AI tasks. In response to this trend, NVIDIA announced earlier this month the expansion of its collaboration with Meta Platforms, marking its first large-scale deployment of a pure CPU setup to support Meta's ad targeting AI agents. This partnership is seen by the market as an early indication of a strategic shift for NVIDIA, demonstrating that the company is moving beyond a singular focus on GPU sales and attempting to secure different segments of the AI market through a diversified hardware portfolio. Now, this says hardware, but they're acquiring. And maybe Railtown fits in the stack. Market demand is shifting gears, and competitive pressures continue to intensify. The evolution in underlying hardware design stems directly from the explosive growth in demand for AI agent applications. Explosive growth in demand for AI agent applications within the tech industry. Many companies building and operating AI agents have discovered that traditional GPUs are too costly and are not always the optimal choice for running models in practice. Market demand is shifting gears, and competitive pressures continue to intensify. This evolution in underlying hardware design stems directly from the explosive growth in demand for AI agent applications within the tech industry. Many companies building and operating AI agents have discovered that traditional GPUs are too costly and are not always the optimal choice for running models in practice. OpenAI's recent moves highlight this trend. In addition to committing to purchase NVIDIA's new systems to enhance its rapidly growing Codex tool, OpenAI also entered into a multi-billion-dollar computing partnership last month with the startup Cerebras. According to Cerebras CEO, I don't know if it's Cerebras or Cerebras, CEO Andrew Feldman, their inference-focused chips outperform NVIDIA's GPUs in terms of speed. Furthermore, OpenAI has signed a major agreement to utilize Amazon's Trainium chips. It is not only startups, but also major cloud service providers that are accelerating their efforts to develop proprietary chips. Anthropic Claude Code, widely regarded as the leader in the auto coding market, currently relies primarily on chips designed by Amazon Web Services and Alphabet's Google Cloud, rather than NVIDIA's products. Facing competition from all sides, Jensen Huang emphasized in an interview with somebody that NVIDIA is transitioning from being a mere chip supplier to becoming a builder of a comprehensive AI ecosystem encompassing semiconductors, data centers, cloud services, and applications. For investors, next month's GTC conference will be a critical juncture. Not going to do it. to assess whether NVIDIA can sustain its 90% market share dominance in the era of inference. It's a lot of dominance. That is a lot of dominance. Here's some of the sessions I would go to. How open world models are powering the next physical breakthroughs, photorealistic data and robust reasoning. I'd go there for machines to understand real world, accelerate the physical AI era with real-time simulation, from concept to production, humanoid robotics at scale. These are examples of what's going on at this conference. Things are, while we're diddly dawdling, things are moving ahead. I'm not negative on Railtown. I think Railtown behind the scenes is going to participate. Here are the sponsors: AWS, CoreWeave, Dell Technologies, Google Cloud, HPE. Remember, HPE is in the TELUS stack. Microsoft Azure, Nebius, and Oracle. I think Lawrence Fishburne should be pronouncing Nebius. All right, we'll go through these quickly. There are a lot. This is a big conference, which I'm sure every conference has all of this, but you know, for any leader to be called great in history, they've got to remove a lot of people from this planet and put them in a different plane of existence. All of the greats, every single one, every leader you think is great had to red drum. So the United States kills 48 Iranian leaders and sinks 9 ships as Tehran attacks aircraft carrier. Oh, swell. I think it's got to have slowed down now. It's got to have slowed down a bit because I think it's nighttime there now. I don't know. All right, let's see. I'll go through these lickety split, I hope. I just got to start. This is, I showed you the elite Nebius. And then the diamond are everybody from Cisco, Lenovo, Foxconn, QCT, but you can see them all here. And this is more of the diamond. I don't really recognize too many of those. Then the platinum, Deloitte stands out, IBM, Hewlett Packard, Mistral, Accenture is up there. And then you've got CrowdStrike, Caruso, Deloitte, we said that already, SAP. And then the gold sponsors, Cloudflare, Core, Equinix, Databricks, Fireworks AI, Hitachi, Capital One's in there. What's in your wallet? Pegatron. Sounds like one of the Griffin's daughters. Yoda, Meta, the silver sponsors. You know, there's some. More silver. Glean, glean, glean. More silver. And there's RLAIF-buy right there. RLAIF-buy. Red Hat. Siemens. And a la carte, whatever that means, and exhibitors. They have a huge list of exhibitors, but Railtown wasn't in it. But Telus is. Telus is an exhibitor right here. And Soundhound, if you see it up here. You remember the name Soundhound? All right. The missile hit a synagogue. It's not going to get good. I mean, it's terrible. They're in praying. 9 killed after Iranian missile hits synagogue in central Israel. It's terrible. How long can Iran keep firing at Israel? Days, not weeks. Well, that's a bet. Trump says Iran wants talks, and I have agreed. Escape from Tel Aviv. Israeli flights from and to Sinai sell out. Netanyahu urges Iranians to overthrow regime as Iran vows revenge for Khamenei. They have a constitution. Why don't you look in the mirror for where the regime is? That guy would be very likely would be in prison, or at least in shackles awaiting trial, if there weren't war. Terror was needed to make Arabs leave. What Israel's army did in 48 revealed. That's from Haaretz. That's an Israeli newspaper. I can't read the article because it's behind a paywall. Israel backs Reza Pahlavi to rule Iran. See, that's all about collateral. If he goes in, he'll borrow from Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley and Barclays, and it's so much bigger than getting us to argue. All right, I think this is the start of it. Okay, these are the last seven or so, maybe 9. Yes, in a world where Anthropic is now a supply chain risk for any Pentagon exposed contractor, and where everyone wants their own chips or sovereign stack, and with GTC explicitly about AI factories and agentic layers, Railtown type tools become more important, not less. Number 1, macro shifts. Why Railtown's layer matters more. The Anthropic ban instantly forces any defense exposed or sensitive supply chain company to reassess provider risk and to prefer architectures where the model is swappable and the control plane is independent. So they're going to need Railtown to keep it on the rails, keep it on the tracks. Sovereign AI factories like TELUS Rimouski now live and serving customers are exactly about that. Data stays in country, compute is controlled by a domestic operator, and you can run multiple models on top. If GTC, the conference, doubles down on AI factories plus agentic AI, the value migrates further toward the orchestration agentic tooling layer that can route between models, optimize expensive compute, and provide observability across jurisdictions, i.e. what Rail Engine plus Rail Tracks plus Conductor are built to do. If GTC focuses on all of this, the value in the AI space moves toward orchestration and agentic tooling layers. These are the layer which can route between models, optimize expensive compute, and provide observability across jurisdictions. This is what Rail Engine plus Rail Tracks plus Conductor do. So structurally, the more the world fragments on sovereignty, safety rules, and chips, the more valuable a neutral, developer-facing agent orchestration layer becomes. And Corey, when I spoke to him, and that I very much appreciated it, he gave me an extra hour than the turtle. He said, we're Switzerland. We are neutral. Nobody has exclusivity. All right, so number 2, does buying Railtown, the whole company, become more urgent? Railtown just clarified that a bunch of historical partnerships were memorandums of understanding or time-bounded contracts, and that the customer revenue to date is still non-existent. At the same time, they doubled down that the 2026 focus is building a Canadian agent ecosystem with something Canadian, I bet, with Canadian partners. They Railtown also closed a small private placement, and you know with whom, the Steely Dan guys. And this de-risks near-term funding and gives Railtown runway through the conference, but also through the TELUS ramp phase of the data center. From a buyer's perspective, a buyer of Railtown, strategics who care about sovereign AI That would be TELUS, another telco, a defense exposed integrator, or a cloud. So strategics who care about sovereign AI now have an added reason not to let a neutral control plane asset drift into a rival's hands, especially after the Anthropic shock. However, the clarification that current realized revenues are tiny cuts both ways. It makes the check size small, but it also gives buyers an argument to wait for proof of ramp, unless they fear competitive preemption. We all fear competitive preemption. I wake up in fear of competitive preemption. Given your prior, see, I don't know how they remember my prior view. This is a little scary. Given your prior view, cheap enterprise value, convex optionality, thesis that the real upside sits inside a buyer, Anthropic situation and sovereignty tailwinds tilt probabilities toward earlier, not later bids from players who were highly exposed to US policy, Trump, and want a Canadian model agnostic agent layer. So they want a Canadian model agnostic agent layer. Switzerland. The macro makes a takeout more likely and gives it more strategic logic. It doesn't guarantee timing timing, but it sharpens the quote, if you want this asset, don't sit on your hands. So number 3, were there any Railtown announcements pre-GTC? Yes. So this, I think, a couple of you pointed out to me on Friday, and I didn't find it Friday, but Railtown issued clarification releases on prior disclosures with Amy and other MOUs, which emphasized that, quote, its primary focus for 2026 will be the building out of its Canadian agent development and deployment ecosystem with the company's Canadian partners, unquote. And then they announced the closing of that deal that you all know about. Those are not splashy, big name customer announcements. I would say the financing was pretty big name. But those announcements clean up the story under regulator pressure and signal that the company has fresh runway and is explicitly Canada sovereign focused going into GTC. 4, is the TELUS data center ready to ramp? I guess those were my words. TELUS Rimouski sovereign AI data is already open. We all know that. Operational and serving customers. It is explicitly framed as Canada's first fully sovereign AI factory, powered by latest generation NVIDIA GPU and HPE infrastructure, with Kamloops planned as next once demand thresholds are met. TELUS has publicly mentioned early customers and partners, League, OpenText, Accenture, using the facility. And the company says it will add further factories as demand increases, implying it is in a, quote, scale as utilization rises, unquote, phase rather than pilot. So Rimouski is past the build stage and in the fill it, then replicate it stage. Rimouski is ready to ramp as workloads move from hyperscalers or on-premises into sovereign environments, and as agentic stacks like rail towns are productized on top. 5, pulling it together for your thesis. My thesis, I would never use productized. Anthropic's clash with the US government sharpens the global lesson that model vendors can become policy fragile, making neutral control planes and sovereign factories structurally more important. GTC is likely to showcase more about AI factories, Rubin-era chips, and agentic stacks. This is where Railtown lives. Telus is already live. NVIDIA-backed sovereign factory is well positioned as a reference example, and Railtown's clarified narrative with fresh capital lets it ride that theme. For a strategic acquirer, the combination of a small enterprise value, macro tailwinds in, macro but big tailwinds in sovereignty and compute efficiency. Also increasing policy risk around specific model vendors, and a live Canadian sovereign factory partner makes the, quote, buy it before it proves everything, unquote, case stronger, not weaker. If you want, I'll give you some analysis. And I said, okay. Here's a rescoring clean with a 225 million fully diluted share assumption. I don't know if that's right. It could be, I just don't know. It could be 230, could be 235, could be 220. I don't know. That's when I asked the question, that's what I used, best of my memory and calculation. All numbers are illustrative and in Canadian, unless noted. 1, today's rough starting point. Recent trading, you're in the 90 to 100 million dollar Canadian range. That's your base enterprise value. Scenario 2, early strategic bid, pre-ramp. Assume someone moves before TELUS AIP ARR. I didn't ask about that. That's a good memory. Thanks for the memories. ARR is fully visible, paying mainly for the asset, IP, positioning, and sovereign optionality. So the valuation logic, small ARR, strong optionality, agentic infra asset. Maybe it's bought out at 3 to 5 times credible near-term ARR, and very small multiple. So that would give it a 150 million to 300 million Canadian on the early strategic bid range. Per share, according to this logic, you're looking at 65 cents to $1.35. I don't find any of this realistic here, but you got to go through it. Anthropic's supply chain risk fight and the sovereignty GTC narrative increases the probability of a pay for the option now deal happening, because waiting risks a competitor blocking you. Scenario 3, bid after TELUS AIP ramp is visible. Now assume 2 to 3 years out. I hate that, but okay. TELUS Sovereign AI Factory is meaningfully utilized, assume that. Assume AIP affiliates are flowing real workloads, and Railtown is at, say, 30 to 75 million annual recurring revenues with good gross margin. Good. They got 100%. As close to it as you can imagine. So you have your valuation logic. 6 to 10x ARR for sticky sovereign aligned control point in a hot segment. Good, but not crazy valuation. So then you're looking at, with a range of 30 to 75 million in revenue, you're looking at, 135, 220, 335 a share Canadian. This is the prove it, then sell path. Anthropic style model risk plus sovereign demand makes it easier to justify the upper end, $2 to $3.35 of those multiples if execution is solid. Number 4, scenario 3, competitive bidding war outcome. If multiple deep-pocketed buyers, a telco, a cloud, a security, infra roll-up, all decide sovereign agentic control planes are strategic and Railtown has visible traction, you could get stretched outcomes. Valuation, use discounted cash flow, hot control points. It's all very weak analysis. My opinion, this is weak, but anyway, you could see your range go from $3.35 to $6.70 a share Canadian. This is the rare but not impossible tale where your earlier question, I didn't make this question today, about multi-billion outcome starts to make sense, but it's well below 10 billion. So the re-weighting probabilities with a new macro, qualitative probability weights over a 3-year horizon, if you consider Anthropic, results in early pre-ramp takeout strategy. This analysis would nudge the upside by 30%. Prove it and sell is the central case, but because of the tailwinds, maybe bump it for 50%. Competitive bidding is still a tail. In other words, it can happen, but it's not the target. Add maybe 10%. And then no deal is pretty low odds that it stays independent. But if you plug that fully diluted share over a 1 to 3 year, lands somewhere around $1.50 to $3 center of gravity with a non-trivial left tail, which I assume means going out of business, a fat right tail. I find that all really lazy analysis. So they invited me to ask, and I said, I'll ask. I said, assume 90, I forgot to say 100% multiple, but anyway, there's my question. Under those assumptions, Canadian 100 million move forward ARR exiting 26 and Canadian 250 million forward ARR exiting 27 and Railtown viewed as a critical must-have control layer, the valuation and urgency change sharply in favor of a fast competitive takeout. What those numbers imply, Canadian 100 million forward ARR in 26, 250 million forward in 27 or exiting, put Railtown into the top decile infra SaaS territory on growth alone, even before the sovereign agentic premium. With TELUS's sovereign AI factory live and positioned as a Canadian NVIDIA reference, a control plane that is clearly driving that kind of ARR would be seen as a core infrastructure, not a feature. In other words, you'd be talking about a speculative, no longer talking about a speculative microcap, but rather you'd be talking about a scaled strategic platform. So here's the valuation bands if the street believes those forward ARR trajectories and sees the business as a must-have layer. High net revenue retention, 100%, can't get higher. Long contracts, sticky once you're in there, goes on for decades. A deep integration. On 100 million forward ARR exiting 2026, normal hot infra model gives you 1 to 1.5 billion enterprise value. Control point sovereign strategic multiple gives you 1.5 billion to 2 billion enterprise value. So that works out per share in the normal hot range, like Tiffany, 445 to 670, and in the strategic range, you might marry her, 670 to 890. On 250 million forward ARR exiting 27 next year, you get on the normal hot, not the crazy hot, that's your fun zone, 2.5 to 3.75, 11 to 1665 per share. In the control point sovereign strategic multiple range, you get to a number of 1665 Canadian to 2220 per share Canadian. Those are zones where your earlier multi-billion, maybe even decabillion internal value discussion starts to have real footing, especially as NVIDIA and big clouds frame sovereign AI factories and agentic layers as the new backbone. What this changes about buyout behavior. If within 90 days from now to 180 days, analysts, sell-side analysts, buy-side analysts, strategic corporation dev analysts can see and believe those forward ARR ramps, the urgency to own Railtown spikes. Any acquirer who thinks Railtown is the canonical control plane for TELUS-style sovereign factories cannot rationally wait for 2027. They would be paying 2 to 3 times more in absolute dollars. So the deal structure tilts towards a competitive bid. A single buyer might move quickly at say 10 or 15 times 100 million, around 445, 670 a share, to get in front of the 250 million expected next year. But if multiple strategics are in the room, like a TELUS, a cloud, and a security infra roll-up, it's easy to see bidding stretch into the $2 to $3 billion area, 890 to 1335 per share, simply to avoid losing this category defining asset. Anthropic's supply chain risk designation and the broader sovereignty push increase the odds that more than one serious buyer must own a sovereign aligned model agnostic agent layer rather than simply partnering opportunistically. Four, I didn't ask this question, but they answered it. Does your $10 billion question become realistic? A USD 10 billion, Canadian 13 billion headline for Railtown still requires either ARR and growth to continue beyond 2027. In other words, projected at 500 million with strong durability the next years. A buyer assigns, quote, platform terminal value that far exceeds conventional ARR multiples, similar to cloud hyperscaler or OS level control points. So I guess those are some of what they have to see or believe. Under your current numbers, 100 million to 250 million must have status, a more grounded takeout band over the next 2 or 3 years. See, I think it's going to happen very quickly. Sits at roughly 2 to 5 billion. That's 890 to 2220 a share, with 1 to 2 billion acting as a move early pricing if they want to get in it before 27 is visible. So if those ARR trajectories become visible and credible over the next 2 quarters, your convexity explodes. The question isn't, quote, if it can be a multi-bagger, unquote, but, quote, whether the bid arrives at Canadian 4 to 7, Canadian 9 to 13, or Canadian 17 to 22 per share, and how many credible bidders show up, unquote. All right, so that was it. That was it. Let's see if anybody said anything. Oh, I didn't go through any of you guys. Sorry, I might have missed some. It doesn't look like it. Hi, Darren, Sir Darren, Eddie Eagle, Fast Eddie, Good Day, Dollar Bill, Joe Marty. Good morning, Steve. Hi, Uncle Bill. Ricky. Hi, William and all. I'm not going to read that out, even though I made the mistake of saying some things. You know, we're going to go into a world where we can't talk. The media is concentrating, and it's being bought by a Zionist. And a lot of our banking is concentrated, frankly, with Zionists. And as we go into war, we're going to have to watch our words and be patriotic about this war we're in. Pat M. Hi, William. Hi, Pat. Donna. Good afternoon, William, and everyone. Good afternoon to you, Donna. I think the purple line around 32.50 could be support if we pull back any. I agree with you. I think right here, for a lot of reasons, Ricky, that's support. I think it's the 20-day moving average is right there. this top of this cluster of trading, the top of it is the bottom of this. So I think that's support for that reason. And then exactly that purple line, I think, is the new trend line. And I think you're going to see higher lows. So I agree with you, Ricky, 100%. If it pulls back, I drew this line, so there's no magic to it. But maybe it comes back to it. It might be 32. It's hard to read, but you're essentially correct, Ricky. I think that purple line is going to be support from now on. And pullbacks, I think, are going to be traced back to that line. It's going to be higher lows. Since the end of January, primarily, all of the lows have hit the tape at a higher level. So we're going up the stairs, and I expect that to continue. I agree with you 100%, Ricky. Ricky says, good afternoon, Donna. Donna says, hello, Ricky. Donna also says, it'll be interesting to see what Realtime does tomorrow. Yeah, let's just look to see if the futures are saying anything. Because the markets in New York, they might have a pretty good idea if this is going to. Yeah, the futures aren't really down, it doesn't look like. So the AI CapEx war will create a clear winner by the end of 2026. It looks like, Donna, there's a lot of discussion about AI for the opening tomorrow because it's a new month. So it might be very interesting. Donna says, oops, Ricky Brogan, my auto-corrected me. What did you say? Oh, Ricky Rogan. Ricky Rogan, Friday's late day rally could have been a leak of good news to come. Could be that, but it also, these computers trade in ranges, and it's the end of the month. And they did their best to get it down, and that may be all the power they have. Ward Richardson joins. Good afternoon, William and RT Crew. TELUS has some great partnerships. Salesforce has 150,000 clients. Wow. Wow. Zendesk's 182, Palo Alto 80, UiPath 11, ServiceNow 80,000. And if they all go on that data center and they all go through Railtown, that would be skyrockets in flight, afternoon delight. Dixon Miazgo wants you to read a complete non sequitur, but out of respect for everybody's intelligence, I'm not going to read it. Hey, Silver Skyrocket. And he says hello to everyone, and Ricky Brogan says hi to everyone. So let's just see. Maybe they can just end this. Oh, God. The pictures they show are not encouraging. But I guess when you set oil or diesel on fire, it's pretty dramatic. I think
Gulf states and others, to act in a way whereby it has end game that is well defined, that if it does get involved in a war, it shouldn't be about gangsterism, it shouldn't be mafiosi, it shouldn't be about killing some.
All right, we don't want to listen to that. We don't want to listen to that. 15 nations order evac.
February the 27th, 2026. Guys, in this morning's video, the U.S. was warning its citizens to evacuate Israel as soon as possible before the flights were canceled, and to not visit certain areas, kind of stay hunkered down. Now we've got 15 countries that are also being told that, and there's explosions being reported just outside Tehran. Now, they're calling it a global evacuation wave. 15 countries telling their citizens to get out of Iran now. Tensions are spiking, and governments worldwide are hitting the panic button, urging the people to leave Iran. You've got Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, Cyprus, Finland, Germany, India, Poland, Serbia, Singapore, South Korea, Sweden, UK, and US.
All right, we got it. Times of India is always very dramatic. I don't know where they get their pictures. I think they're all stock photos, so I don't quite believe them. Boom goes the Persian Gulf. That's right. That's tough. All right, I'm not going to focus on that. That's all I had today. So go enjoy your afternoon. Fill up, if you're driving, fill up your tank. Don't just put half a tank in there. That's what Matt Simmons told me. If everybody just filled up their tank, it would drain the gasoline system in 2 weeks. And you couldn't recover. You can't recover for months, 6 months, 9 months. So just be the first one on your block to fill up your tank. And then keep it full. And get some money out of your ATM while the ATMs still work. It's the only things I can think of doing, other than, telling your dog you love her. And your cat and your horse. I don't know what else to tell you. So I wish everybody a happy Sunday. Thanks for joining in. I think the next 2 weeks are going to be exciting for Railtown. As Donna and Ricky maybe both pointed out, the technical picture looks like it's strengthening. We'll see if there's some more shakeout in the AI story we'll see if there's a shakeout because of war. You know, if the markets have a sharp sell-off and oil goes to $150 a barrel, it's unlikely we're going to dodge a short-term sell-off. But I would see that as an anomaly, probably. But man, I'm not as optimistic as everybody. You know, the World War I was supposed to last 6 months. You just don't know how these things, how they go, how they end. And I guess we all have to say our prayers and leave it in God's hands. So with that, I'm going to sign off. I'll try to come on tomorrow. Tomorrow could be exciting, but I'm going to be at that, trying to make the effort to get that, our other project in motion. So until then, I wish you peace, and I pray for peace in the world.